Maya. I'm here with Bender.
And I'm here with Sydney, and this is BS Astrology.
What's up, y'all? We are here to talk to you about July 8th through the 14th. That's Tuesday through Monday, and we are filming this on July 7th around 12:52 p.m., just hours after Uranus has entered the hilarious sign of Gemini.
And we literally already had to restart this.
Yeah.
And had a little giggle fit.
Duality, multiplicity.
Yeah. No problem.
Yeah. So let's just go over some of the kind of highlights, things of the past and the present that we are currently sitting inside of, so we can just kind of orient us into the astrological space. Uranus just entered Gemini, as we said. It will be direct until September 6th, 2025. It'll go back into Taurus. So if you have any fixed signs at the very last degrees, especially that 29th degree, 28th, and 27th degree, it's going to come back and stimulate that and have one little last parting shot.
Just a gut punch.
Just before going direct on February 4th and then re-entering Gemini on April 26th. So what we're getting right now until September is a preview of what Uranus and Gemini really is about for us when it goes fully into the sign for 7 years. We're currently in Mercury retrograde shadow,
which kills me, and
it's totally fine
Sid
for me.
Could be so unbothered.
It begins on the retrograde begins on the 18th. It goes until August 11th. It clears the shadow around August 25th. So
we're not in retrograde yet,
but we're in the shadow.
We're in the shadow. For me personally, a lot of times the worst shit happens during the shadow. The day that Mercury went into its shadow, my car fucking died.
Yeah.
So
it's real finicky. I think that the shadow period can feel really, it's like the destabilization happens, and then the retrograde period is trying to like clean it up, make some sense of it, to go over it, to fix it.
It's also my natal Mercury is retrograding.
Is retrograde?
It's because it's Mercury in Leo.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is going to be...
Ooh, that's extra, like,
you sure I should buy a car right now?
I mean, you're going to
or maybe this is the moment.
I mean, maybe it is, because you kind of have to, I mean...
It's not like I have a choice.
Yeah, so. That's the thing. Sometimes we just don't have the choice. And the only thing that you can do in those moments when you don't necessarily have a choice is if you have a couple hours choice, you can try to elect the better rising sign to... you know.
And also Uranus is now in Gemini, so maybe it's just going to be a silly time.
Yeah, a silly time for us all. I was just sent a contract because I'm doing some work for UAC, and I'm like looking, she was like, I need you to sign this contract, and I was like, I cannot believe you sent this to me during the retrograde shadow. So now
what is wrong with you?
Well, so now I'm just looking at kind of a idealish time that doesn't necessarily mess with any of my planets, and also doesn't like fuck with the third house lord, and then I'm like, oh, I'm in it again. And of course it's like the thing that I want to do is like be doing nothing but electional and horary, so it's like good practice, but it is very finicky.
Yeah, but Sid's never bothered by Mercury retrograde.
They really don't bother me in the same way that they do for everybody else. So I feel pretty grateful.
But have you ever been like affected by other people's Mercury retrograde bullshit?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I definitely watch it, right? It was one of the first things I tracked besides the moon when I started getting more interested in actually studying astrology, like besides just like listening to things, right? Like then I started reading and like tracking and looking at, my various programs and everything like that. And they don't bother me in the way that they bother other people.
Yeah. It absolutely fucks my shit up.
Yeah. I mean, though I will say that because Mercury is my lord, my chart lord, like it's not necessarily great that it's going to be in a sign that squares squares my chart lord. So like that'll be a little bit frictiony. So we'll see how this one in particular goes.
Yeah. And just for all you listening out there, part of why this is easier on Sid than others is because her natal Mercury is retrograde. So you're used to that energy.
Yeah.
Your whole brain is retrograde.
so many planets in my chart are retrograde as well, right? So I'm very used to like the internalization, everything is internal.
Revisiting everything, always. Ruminating.
All the time. All the time.
All the time, forever.
But it's good to know in your own chart, like what planets are retrograde. And also, especially if your chart lord is retrograde, that might mean that retrograde periods are easier for you than they are for other people. And then that also means that like you're able to facilitate an energy of like being the stability for those around you.
Yeah. It's almost like you're like permanently living in a retrograde energy.
Neptune just went retrograde in Aries. That happened on July 4th. It will dip back into Pisces, 29th degree. There's a lot of like going back to finish up just the last end, like the last bite of the cake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before going into and until we go into new, like very new, fresh, fiery, airy energy.
Yeah.
Within a degree this whole week and continuing for a long time, Saturn conjoining Neptune. It will be exact March 4th. Saturn turns retrograde on the 12th. This is one of the biggies of this week. Saturn is pretty stationed, which means powerful.
Yes.
Angry.
Yeah. It's like a pivot point, right? Yeah. It's like slowing down, getting ready to stop, and then turn and go in that retrograde. So I like to think of it as like the power of like when you slam on your brakes on your car and you're feeling those G-forces. Yeah.
Which also really makes sense with the Aries energy. You want to go fast, but she's saying no.
She says no.
And I do think that this, I personally, and I'm sure a lot of other astrologers think about like just the purity of Saturn and Aries. I think it's a limit on our personal like identities and freedoms, and we're watching that happen. It's not just like the erosion of those things with its conjunction to Neptune, but it's literally just like the limit. Like we don't get to be sovereign.
No.
And we're watching that be stripped away and it ever so more violent. It's so fucked. Anyways.
And it's like we're like, I feel like it's a Neptune and Aries thing that we're all just still kind of sitting here just like watching it happen, just like drooling.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like, what do you do?
Yeah. Or trying to convince others because they're literally under the cloud, the Neptunian cloud, where they're like, it's not that bad. And we're like, and there's people that are like, it is that
it's actually that bad.
Like we are. So it's just like the film is still.
And it's not even like just coming from a place of privilege. Like I know people who are directly very threatened by this and they're just like, I don't think it's as bad as we think it is. I'm like, dude, like have some self-preservation. Like, oh my God.
Or people that are just like fully unaware.
Yeah.
Like I have
not checked into it.
Yeah. I have a parent that is incredibly unaware about the stuff that's going on with ICE. And I'm like,
wow, which parent is it? I wonder.
Well, I'm not going to say that on camera right now.
Is my guess probably right though?
Probably.
Okay.
And then Jupiter is no longer combust, but it's still under the beam. So we still do not know what Jupiter in Cancer is capable of doing, saving us from, protecting us from, offering its generosity, its blessings, any of those things. The moon is extremely out of bounds until Friday. So we're just feeling. We have a shit ton of void moon energy too this week. Mars inches closer to that south node, which is going to further destabilize and probably make more violent Mars. Cuts, booms, all of that stuff. And we get a full moon on July 10th.
And it's going to be a shit show full moon. So
yeah.
We'll get into that.
Any comments about those horrifying notes?
No, I think we should just let's just leave it to the people and we'll just keep talking about it. I mean, my big thing is that Mars South Node conjunction that's going to happen is scary.
Yeah.
You know, there are other historical precedents.
Don't know.
There are past historical events that are evidence of
Mars conjoining the South
what happens when Mars conjoins the South Node.
Yeah.
So I do, and just the evidence of everything else going on in the world. There's no reason why this should be any exception.
Yeah. And considering that every single time that Uranus has entered Gemini, the US in particular has gone into a major war.
Yeah.
Not the little ones that we are perpetuating.
Yeah.
All around the land for eternity. I mean,
because like, yes, we've always been at war, and like that is true.
Are we the baddies?
Are we the
Are we the baddies?
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
We're the baddies.
We're the bad guys. We're the capital.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I do think that we are gearing up for war. I do think Mars on the South Node.
I think that's going to be the trigger.
Entered us into the war in Afghanistan and also killed 3,000 civilians,
which was not a major war, but it was a war that definitely.
I would argue.
I mean, like a world war. It wasn't a world
war.
Oh
yeah, it's not a world war,
but it was a major war.
Yeah,
and it kept us inside of countries that we have no business being in.
And arguably, 9/11 set kind of global relations, international relations on a trajectory that we are still feeling the repercussions of now.
It also changed everything about how we travel.
Yeah. Right?
Absolutely everything.
Everything.
About how we travel.
Yeah. Ooh, you know what else is interesting is it totally changed the way that we like collect and share data. Like there was the Patriot Act that came out of that.
Yeah.
And we've never experienced like true, like you were talking about with Saturn and Aries, we haven't experienced true sovereignty in terms of like our right to privacy to our data pretty much since 9/11.
Yeah.
So yeah, coming back to, and now Uranus is in Gemini. So data, information, travel.
Yeah. Yeah. The radical changes that we're going to go through in how our information is used, stored, gotten, how it even operates, right? What is true, what is not. I mean, Gemini does not care about what is true and what is not. And more than anything,
if anything, it delights in not knowing.
Yeah.
And in no one else knowing.
Yeah. I think we all got to get really cool about a lot of things real quick, which is we all need to get very good at trying to verify our sources.
Yeah.
And then even still always holding a bit back going, this is true, and being able to show our work.
Yeah. Agreed. And also still being able to be curious.
Yeah.
Right? Like being able to take in new information while also being a little more critical about what information we're taking in. So anyway, there's a lot going on. Definitely a lot of retrograde energy. So why don't we just jump into the week?
Yeah.
And see what it has for us.
Yeah.
We've got Tuesday, July 8th. Moon is void of course all day.
Yeah.
So not a great day to start. It's a tough way to start the week, right? It's not a great time to initiate any projects. It's not a good time to really get anything. Yeah. It's not a great day for your to-do list.
It's a day to like finish up things.
Yeah.
To
things you've already been working on.
To make plans to do things, but not to initiate, certainly.
Yeah.
And
I would argue that even sometimes if you make plans during void of course, will those plans happen?
I think that I always think that they like change.
Yeah.
Or like the outcome of what you were going to do. It's like if you made a plan to go grocery shopping with your friend and during a void of course moon, and then like, you pick up your friend, you almost get to the grocery store, but then you end up at the mall instead.
Yeah.
And you don't get any groceries.
Yeah.
So it's like part of the mission is fulfilled, but like now it's completely changed.
Yeah.
Did you need new shoes? Sure. But like, did you get milk? No.
Yeah. Or it can just delay. Like I've made plans during void of course and I was like, oh, I'll meet you guys Tuesday. And then I end up having to reschedule like 3 times before it actually happens.
Yeah.
But the plan still happens. I just kept having to reschedule.
Or there's just like things just dissolve in strange ways where it's like you have, maybe it's like a board meeting with a whole bunch of people and then like 3 of them can't show up. And so you still have to fill them in. And like, it's just not.
Yeah. Void of course is messy. So we're going to have moon void of course all day Tuesday.
Yeah.
We start off the day with some pretty minor aspects.
Yep.
But we do have at 6:57 a.m. Mercury and Leo will be making a quintile with Uranus and Gemini. And although this is a minor aspect, I do think that since we are right in that beginning story of Uranus and Gemini, and because Mercury is in its shadow and probably doing some sneaky things right now, this feels like an aspect worth talking about, right?
Yeah, I think there's like some new ideas forming.
Right.
Some
Yeah, unique,
creative.
creative new ideas. I love Leo and Gemini together. I think they are such absolute mischief makers together.
Yeah.
So I definitely think there's a lot of like curiosity, and between Leo and Gemini, there's definitely a lot of creative conversations that can happen.
It also feels like just joking.
Yeah. Right. Creative conversations where it's like, we're going to talk about this. Like it's really going to happen, but really we're just kind of entertaining each other.
Yeah. I think that there's definitely some playfulness to it. But you know, there could also be a little bit of like a little bit of a sensitivity, if only because that Mercury in Leo is ruled by that Sun in Cancer.
Right.
So essentially it's like in the 12th house of it. So it's like whatever, these like just joking, but you like kind of hurt your own feelings. Or you kind of said something that ends up kind of like fucking with yourself.
Have you seen that video online of that kid and he's like laughing, crying, and the mom's like, "Are you sad?" And he's like, "No, I'm laughing." And there are like tears coming.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah. So, and then around 9:15 a.m. So that's energy we're going to be just waking up with. It's going to be just before 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Around 9:15 a.m. we're going to have Moon in Sagittarius squaring the nodes.
And the moon and very out of bounds.
Yeah.
So this is, you know, the moon is at a choice point. We're at an emotional choice point. Whether
it's emotionally destabilizing.
Yeah, whether we release or we go forward into, you know, new ways, new dreams, that sort of thing. And it's ruled by a Jupiter in Cancer, you know, so we're still feeling, I don't know, it's already opposed it. It's like, I don't know, it feels over the top.
Yeah.
It feels like this choice that we have to make is also over the top. Like, really? And maybe it's about...
Or maybe the choice that we feel like this choice is way bigger than it has to be.
Yeah.
Or maybe we feel like we have to make a choice and really maybe we don't actually have a choice in the matter.
Yeah. I mean, the Sun and Jupiter at this time are actually parallel. So it's like a kind of secret conjunction. So I think it still lends to the over the top, like extra emotional feeling that we are, whether it is around like escapism, like that whole Sag thing is like, I'm out, you know? Or
yeah, and that's the other complicated thing about this is Moon and Sag does not prefer to be that deep, right? Like emotionally speaking. So with all of this heaviness, I think Sag is going to be
wanting to check out and wanting to check out.
Yeah.
I just think just wanting to check out altogether.
Yeah.
We do have, let's see. Yeah. Beware of overreactions.
And that's so pretty much that energy is holding through most of the day.
Yeah. I just think it's hyphy.
Yeah. It's just a little escapist. It's like escapism, but not the kind of escapism where you're like, I just want to have a fun day and not think about it. It's like, I have to escape because I don't want to be wherever I'm supposed to be right now.
I also think with like the out of bounds, like over the top kind of energy that a Sag can have, that is like self-righteousness on its full bent. I said what I said. It doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong.
Bitch, I said what I said.
I told my story. And then also with that Mercury, Uranus energy, like it could be just extra mischievous and just not how we're supposed to be communicating in that time. I just think we all just need to be careful.
I think that, I feel like there could be a lot of like spilling of tea here that maybe is not our tea to spill kind of thing. Yeah. But it feels like we feel like it's almost that thing where like you feel like you're doing the right thing by saying something and then you realize you're like, maybe that wasn't for me to say kind of energy.
Yeah, foot and mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Sages love that.
Sages love foot and mouth.
They're so good at it.
They're the most annoying about it though, because they'll be foot and mouth and then you'll be like, hey, you just put your foot in your mouth. And yeah, they'll just be like, so what I said.
Self-righteous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at 8:03 p.m., this agitated moon is going to trine Chiron in Aries. So, I mean, that's a nice, that can be nice for emotional healing and it could be a salve after the rest of the day. But I still think that moon is pretty agitated.
Yeah. Especially because like right after that, it's going to sesquio square Mercury in Leo, which I think is like an embarrassment.
Yeah.
Like feeling
so it could be that moon. I think with that trine, Sag is maybe going to like realize where they misstepped or something like that.
Or try to facilitate some sort of healing, and then
Yeah.
they like miss the mark.
Yeah.
Whether that is in like having some sort of conversation or trying to set like new foundations with itself, right? That
Yeah.
Aries like energy of like new.
Yeah.
I'm going for my own freedom, especially
Right.
the Sag energy too. And then it just
Yep.
like literally misses the mark, right? Because Sag is also, it's the archer, right? So it like shoots its arrow and it goes, oh shit.
Yeah.
Right. So the sets square to Mercury and Leo can just be feeling like a little bit embarrassed or frustrated around like maybe just not getting what it needs.
Yeah. So I would say for Tuesday, try to hold on to that opening energy of that Mercury quintile Uranus, because that's going to be, I feel like that's going to be potentially the most pleasant energy that you'll get throughout the day. Because otherwise right after with that moon square in the nodes, it's just going to be a little bit emotionally agitated throughout the day. And again, don't try to initiate anything on this Tuesday.
Yeah. I just don't think you're going to get what you think you want or what you're trying to go after on this day.
No.
Wednesday, July 9th, Mercury's day. Great day for a call with Mercury.
Yeah.
So 1:54 a.m. the moon is going to enter very establishing Capricorn.
In its fall.
And the void of course ends. So when the moon enters Capricorn, we do have it now ruled by that Saturn Aries, which is feeling quite disrespected.
Yeah.
Like whenever we have a planet in its fall, it's like,
yeah.
how dare you disrespect me?
And it just feels like the whole world is working against you.
Yeah, and Saturn is very much about respect and reputation. And so I think that, you know, however a moon in Cap is about its business, it's about its business because it does not like what's happening to it.
So yeah, that's where we're starting the day. 2:05 a.m. There's a moon quincunx to Uranus. So again, more discomfort.
Yeah, that's just anxiety.
It's just anxiety. I mean, if you think about Capricorn and Gemini is like
flitting from place to place.
Yeah, and like I just can't think of a sign that would annoy Capricorn more than Gemini. Like, am I wrong? Like they quincunx each other, and that just seems like the one where like Capricorn is like, it's like Bert and Ernie. That's what it feels like. It feels like Bert and Ernie.
Oh, that's cute.
Right? Where Capricorn is just like trying to get shit done or like have a quiet night with a book. And Gemini, aka Ernie, is coming in and just like introducing chaos into Capricorn's life for no reason, no good reason, and also putting Capricorn at risk of like looking like a fool, right? Just by Gemini being Gemini.
Yeah. And there's some sort of emotional adjustment we have to do because of perhaps like a new idea or communication coming forth, right? The quincunx forces some sort of adjustment. The moon is our emotional baseline, our habits.
Yeah.
So we're having to shift, and we really don't want to.
No. And keep in mind, this is also at 0 degrees. We're still at like that very beginning of Uranus and Gemini. So this is going to pack a punch. And I think it's also important to pay attention. Yeah. It's going to be in the middle of the night, so you'll likely be waking up with this energy. Yep. But pay attention to how you feel when you wake up on Wednesday.
We could just be feeling kind of like, I don't know, when I think of moon, Uranus contacts in general, there's like an electric kind of thing. And with the quincunx, it's like disjointed shocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zip, zap.
Discomfort. What did you dream about that night? Yeah. And then think about it in that
5:36 a.m. we get a square from the moon to Saturn.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, a cardinal square. We're going to want to take some sort of action in order to like establish like our own sense of like authority. Yeah. And it's like, no.
And it's saying no because it's two planets in their fall squaring off with each other right now.
Well, moon's in its detriment.
I'm sorry, moon is in its detriment.
And Saturn is in its fall.
Right. So
and the moon is answering to its ruler at that time. It's fighting with it.
Yeah. It is fighting with its ruler.
Like, I'm trying to set this up. And Saturn is like, I don't give a shit. Try harder. You know, and it's also just like an emotional reality check, right? That says like, now you have to go do this thing. You have to take action over here. It just doesn't feel great.
And this is all still pretty much before we wake up, or as we're waking up.
We get a square to Neptune, to retrograde Neptune right after that. So that is, you know, feeling probably a bit overwhelmed, deceived, taken advantage of in some sort of way, lied to, just confused.
Yeah. Disillusioned.
Definitely disillusioned.
Yeah. And then finally, we'll be awake. But keep in mind that moon square to Neptune, to retrograde Neptune, is pretty much what you're going to be waking up with, and is going to carry us through the whole morning.
Yeah. That's at 6:04 a.m. So Pacific Standard Time.
Might have a hard time waking up that day. Honestly, might be a day where you don't super feel like waking up.
I think that this whole day,
it sucks.
All of Wednesday,
there's not a single easy aspect.
No, I just think we are cranky. We are overwhelmed. Yep. We feel pressure from all sides, and then we have an an overreaction moment, or big feelings that don't feel good because we have that moon out of bounds in opposition to Jupiter in Cancer.
Yep.
Which is just like, it's almost like you're trying to maintain control, right? That moon in Capricorn, and then
pops the fuck off.
Too much. Yeah,
it's gonna be too much.
I don't like this day.
I don't either. I would say definitely keep your emotions in check. Don't try to have hard conversations with anyone on this day. And just remember that any information that you receive, if it doesn't make you feel very good, definitely like take a deep breath and maybe try not to address it on this day. Because also with the square to Neptune, you might not even be receiving the information very clearly. I think that's a really important thing. Again, remember, Mercury is in its shadow. So if you receive news or information today that's really upsetting to you on this Wednesday, I would say really pause and take a step back and wait for yourself to be more clear-headed, and wait to maybe receive more information, because I don't think we're going to be in a place to receive information clearly or accurately on this day.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and we're going to be totally ruled by our emotions.
Yep.
So, yeah. Good luck on Wednesday. Happy birthday, Dad.
Yeah, that's like in his solar return, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
it's always funny to like read aspects and you're like, oh, that's so-and-so's birthday, and you're like, oh, they're gonna be really argumentative this year.
That makes me sad. I want my dad to have a nice year.
Well, you can also like look at like where these things happen. You have to look at it like,
I love my dad. He deserves all the best things in the world. Anyway,
so we are going to move on to Thursday, July 10th. So this is the full moon is going to happen today. It's I think that there is some emotional, mental tension that we're feeling very early in the morning. We have the moon quincunx Mercury. This is before the full moon.
And then at 3:10 a.m. we also have
Moon trine Mars in Virgo.
Moon trine Mars, which is
working.
It's definitely productive. Again, it's going to be in the middle of the night, so
yeah.
But it could be, I don't know. It could be good for subconsciously processing feelings if you're sleeping.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna pull up the full moon. I forgot to.
Yeah. The other nice thing is there's really, it's going to be pretty quiet until we hit that full moon.
But things are forming, right? Because as the full moon is not germinating or culminating, it's coming to fruition, ballooning. It's like full moons for me always feel like standing on the edge of like some sort of precipice before like you go, aha.
It's edging, baby.
Yeah. Like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Because the full moon brings something to light,
right?
Something to our full awareness. We become aware of like whatever we planted during that new moon, what its like the fruits of its labor were, and what we have to work with as we go into the waning phase.
But obviously this is, we'll go into the details, but this like you were saying earlier, it's like a pretty cranky full moon.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on with it. So I definitely do think it's going to bring things to light, but it's not going to be easy information to receive. I think and especially in that cardinal sign, I think it's going to be something pretty significant. especially depending on where Capricorn is in your chart.
I think it has to do more with bringing more awareness to what certain rights have been eroded from us.
Yes. Yeah.
And our freedoms, how those are changing, slipping away, and like what is happening with those.
Yeah. How power is kind of being exercised against us.
Yeah.
Right now. And I do think, in the macro sense, that's going to be a feature of the full moon. And we're already seeing a lot of things culminating over this past week. There's been a lot of conversations about going to war. There's been a lot of really concerning news coming out about ICE and deportations. The big beautiful bill. I think that's another. Hello.
Yeah.
Good morning. Anyway, so let's jump into some of the features. First being moon is in its detriment and ruled by a Saturn in its fall.
Yeah, I wrote right next to it. This is going to be happening at the 18th degree. So if you have cardinal placements around probably like 15 to 20, this full moon could potentially be dinging some major parts of your chart, especially if you have the lights there. You have a lunar or solar ruled perfection year. That's pretty important too. These full moons and new moons and eclipses will be giving you some whammies for the whole year. The moon in Capricorn is ruled by a basically stationed Saturn about to go retrograde, conjunct Neptune within 15 minutes.
So this is both really powerful and also really disorienting. Right? Like it's gonna be something that like
confusing,
smacks you in the face, and then you're like, why the hell did I just get smacked in the face like that?
I just feel like with all of the cardinal energy of this, there feels like an emergency and a pressure to potentially deal with whatever comes to light here, but there's no clear footing on how to take that step to do that work.
It's basically like a crisis point where suddenly we're all aware of the crisis, but it doesn't necessarily point us in the direction of how to heal or how to move forward from that crisis. It's just a crisis point. Saturn and Neptune will be sextiling Uranus in Gemini. And again, it's not exact, but Uranus is in a critical degree still right now.
No, he's not. Uranus. Well, it's anaretic. Yeah, but not. I guess anaretic and critical are together.
Yeah. Anyway, and then there's a talent trine between Saturn and Neptune, Uranus and Pluto. So all the big social planets, ideas and communication.
Air and fire. You really want to move fast and take action.
Which again goes back to that crisis point, right? Where we're like, oh shit, we have to do something. What do we do? It almost feels like running around a building that's on fire with your hair on fire and you're looking for a fire extinguisher or a way out, but your hair's also on fire. So you're like not really thinking clearly, right? And it's interesting because I'll talk about that later. You're the mansion guy. So talk about the mansion man.
Sorry.
You're gonna be funny during Uranus and Gemini.
Probably. I mean, it's like now it's co-present with my moon. So
what if you find your new calling is like a stand-up comedian?
Oh my god. Well, I'm used to being on stage, so. So we're in the 23rd mansion. I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but I'm going to try. It's Saas Bula, quote unquote, the fortune of the glutton. It's a mansion of divorce and separation, which is also not great with the full moon being literally the separateness of the moon and the sun, right? Separation. When this mansion appears, it can signify that we are engaged in conflict or soon will be so. And I get this from Christopher Warnock's book, The Mansions of the Moon. It's beautiful. Look at this cover.
I know, I love that.
Isn't it so beautiful? But I think when we take into consideration that Uranus is anaretic and in a sign that is not great for our country because we're experiencing now our Uranus return, and when Uranus is in Gemini, we go to war. And Mars, when it comes to the south node, I think that's the trigger that pushes us into, and this is a heed the call. This is what is happening. We are going to be pushed into this place.
Yep.
Yeah. We're like edging conflict, right?
Yeah.
Like we're throwing it's like we're holding the hand of Israel, like golf, like a golf swing, like no, you throw it.
No, you throw it. No, you throw it.
And so we're doing that with all of these other conflicts.
We're just putting the tip in. Yeah. Just.
And so I think something is going to be kind of presented to us with the full moon, being ruled by a warring, angry Saturn that is confused and fusing with something that is dissolving its old sense of identity and structure.
Yeah.
And it's not great.
No. And like the nature of full moons in general is about release, kind of things coming to culmination.
Yeah.
And I think with this energy in particular, there's going to be like harsh endings, harsh separations.
Yeah, it's kind of like I think about the movement of the moon, right? So we had that moon trine Mars, and then the moon will trine the south node, which also triggers some sort of release, right? Some easy release because it's the trine, and then it goes and it trines Mars, it opposes the sun, something comes out. And then it goes and trines the south node, which just says like, now we release something, we let go of something, something changes, something ends, which is the south node when things come to the south node. And so, I don't particularly think that this is a very pleasant full moon.
No.
At all.
No.
How about you?
No, I don't. Like, again, I do think in terms of personally, for you personally, depending on what's happening in your chart, depending on what house this falls under, I do think that these are necessary things to let go of. But I think the nature of this is like those things that were really foundational for you might be ripped out from under you.
Yeah. Think about what you want to release. This can be a time of ritual.
I would say this is a time to think of not what you want to release, but what you've been so hard resisting releasing, and just kind of coming to terms with the fact that maybe that's a thing that you have to let go of.
I mean, it also has to do with safety and security, right? Because we have the sun in Cancer and we have the moon in Capricorn, which is I need to feel secure at all costs.
Yeah. Well,
to the point of not feeling.
I think this full moon's not going to feel safe at all.
No.
And I think it's going to
shine a light on
our deepest fears.
Yeah, and what we maybe have been trying to maintain is secure and just showing all of the cracks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And again, I think this goes back to that macro thing where where we're thinking about how we've been led to believe, or how we've been sort of comfortable in the safety of living in the U.S. And I think that kind of speaks to the complacency that we've developed as Americans.
Yeah.
And just assuming that like all those bad things that happen in other countries just couldn't happen to us. Totally can. Totally fucking can.
This full moon is going to square Chiron, the Sibley chart in the U.S. Sibley chart. So I think we're going to be feeling very sensitive and very wounded about things.
And again, identity stuff.
Right? Yeah, 100%.
Our identity and our sovereignty is threatened. And again, that's on the macro level. It could also be on the micro level.
It's also in the midpoint.
I'd be worried about violence. I'd be worried about, Capricorn can be such a freaking tyrant in its worst.
Yeah.
So I'd be worried about control. Where have you been feeling like you need, or where are others exercising control over you and you need to like let that shit go? Like, are there people who are being tyrants in your life that you need to let go of? Are there institutions that you're a part of that you need to let go of? Those kinds of things.
I can dig it.
Yeah.
It's also I think the midpoint between the sun and Mercury in the chart. So it's going to activate this little.
So like verbal sparring.
Yeah. And also just this 7th and 8th area, which, has to do with like allies.
Yep.
And their money.
Allies and shared resources, right?
Anyways.
Yeah. So it's going to be spooky.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's up.
And like, let's just be real. People with natal moon in Capricorn, is spooky. So it'll be spooky. So anyway, yeah. So that's going to be the main feature of Thursday is that full moon.
Yep.
I would definitely say, well, the void, of course, is it happens during the full moon. Well, I would try to do your rituals before that void of course.
Yeah, the full moon happens and then we just go void of course and we will stay void of course until the next day.
Mm-hmm. So try to do your full moon rituals in the morning. So let's move on to Friday, July 11th. On this day, Venus is on the world point at 7 degrees in Gemini.
And it's also Venus's day.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
So maybe there will let's see if it gets a little better, shall we?
When Venus ends up on the world point, we often have news around Venus, right? Money, women, or principles around femininity,
allies, partnerships.
Yeah, I think that there
enemies.
I think that there could be maybe some substantial news around all of the horrible legislation that's coming out about gender.
Yep.
Especially with Venus being in Gemini, like basically the most non-binary sign that you can that you could be in. Like
absolutely.
There could be something about gay rights.
Well, we know that Project 2025 again, that big beautiful bill, is funded, backed, and written by evangelical kind of like Christian fascists. So
do you think that like when they look at themselves in the mirror that like they just like have blood coming out of their eyes? Like I don't
even think they can look at themselves in the mirror. How can you look at yourself?
Just killing people.
Anyways. I just don't. I don't know how other people think. I don't know. I can understand how you think, but when it comes to people making choices like that, I don't.
Yeah.
How do you be so? You know what helps me actually when I'm trying to think about how people like
looking in Betty's eyes, telling her how much.
Telling her perfect. No, I try to think of the times in my life where I have repressed things, and then the moments that I realized I was repressing things, and then looked back on how I was responding to things because I was repressing that feeling. And then I try to amplify that by like 10,000. And I'm like, that must be what being evil is like. If like every single thing you repress and you just never are accountable for.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. Or there's just other, like, the devil's out there and you really do be making offers on people's souls.
I mean, the thing that I'm sure that too, because of certain things that have happened in my life, I am very aware that some people literally just do it for the plot.
Yeah. Which is also very Gemini.
Like they do not care.
That's very shadow Gemini.
But like they do not care if they're right or they're wrong. They don't care if it's mean. They don't care if it hurts people. They don't care if it's a lie. They don't care.
They just do it to keep themselves entertained.
Or they just do it because they're mean.
Yeah.
And there's no explanation for it. There's no going back into like it's just because they are. And like there's just people that are fine with that too. Or there's people that just don't even think about whether they're good or bad. They just do.
Yeah.
And then they just move forward. And it's really extraordinary as a person that has been harmed by people like this to go like, how do you heal from that? Because we are brought up in a world that tells us, it lies to us, that says like when a person is caught, they atone and they learn.
Yep.
Which is not true.
It's just not true for so many people. Yeah.
Like there are people that like, yeah, they fuck up, right? And then they're like, oh, actually that wasn't great, and that was actually against my own morals, and I'll never do that again. And they learn from the lessons, and thank God that those people exist. But there are so many people that does not exist for. Like reflection, atonement, changed behavior.
Big baby.
But in any case,
so that's some people in this world are just bad, and I do think that does still tie back to us talking about Venus on the world point. Venus rules our enemies, right? Venus,
she can
speaks to
when she's in bad shape. I mean, she's not getting beat up in this chart so much. She will square the nodes eventually, which I think will be an interesting time for her. But, we do, for this day in particular, we're still in a void of course moon when we wake up. We have the moon in Capricorn square Chiron. This is emotionally sensitive. This is feeling, disrespected, hurt. When I think about the moon in Capricorn square Chiron, they're both ruled by the malefics. So it's just, I think it's just angry. We're just angry.
Angsty.
Yeah. It's not great.
I mean, after a full moon, like the day before, we are going to be cranky. Or just really dysregulated. And then at 10:21, finally, moon freaking leaves Capricorn and goes into Aquarius.
Social, detached. A little bit more
analytical, cerebral. Definitely community minded. Connection minded.
Revolutionary.
I was gonna say a little bit oddball, right? Sometimes I struggle with Aquarius. I mean, that's my 10th house, my Saturn point. So
whenever it goes into Aquarius, because it's my 6th house, a lot of my 6th house, I'm just like, time to get to work. I'm just like,
I think more like when I relate to people, I don't know. I have an air moon. I don't get along always with Aquarius moons. I get along with Gemini moon, not Aquarius moon. And I love Aquarius sun. I fuck with that. I love Aquarius so hard with Aquarius sun.
I think the ability of moon in Aquarius is to kind of become too Spock-like. Around their feelings can be a little bit hard for other moons to get. Because they're literally, they're alien. They're from another world, and how they feel is.
I dated an Aquarius moon once who said to my face, they were like, I'm not actually sure if I like your personality. And they were genuine. They genuinely weren't sure.
Jesus Christ.
So anyway, moon Aquarius. So moon will be in Aquarius. Void, of course, will end. And then at 10:42 a.m., so about 20 minutes or 30 minutes after moon enters Aquarius, moon will trine Uranus in Gemini, which feels very thinky,
new ideas,
communicative, information,
emotional habits easily change.
And
shift like in perspective.
Shift in perspective. I was gonna say like revolutionary kind of like inspiration, like light bulb moments, right? Which will be nice. And then 1:54 p.m. Moon is going to sextile Saturn,
and then it's going to sextile Neptune.
And
right after. So again, there could be some sort of cooperation, right, with that sextile, that working energy to try to establish new ways of being and foundations and dreams.
If you were really disoriented or thrown off course by the full moon the day before, there could be some energy the next morning to try to kind of make sense of it and kind of put yourself on a certain course, feeling allowing yourself to find the inspiration in what has gone down.
And you also just kind of the ability to find like some sort of emotional baseline. Like where you're just like, okay, I'm a little bit more grounded. Not to say that these signs are grounded, but Saturn brings some sort of like weight. Like it just kind of can hold you still a little bit. We get the moon conjunct Pluto, though, then we're thrust into the depth of feeling where the moon in Aquarius doesn't necessarily want to be.
No, but we do have both moon and Pluto in Aquarius. So yeah, definitely thrown into the depths where Aquarius doesn't like to go. But I do think that these two are kind of, there's a little bit more of an understanding of like, we're going to go deep, but cerebrally deep.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's not quite investigative because that would be more
that
like
would be
a
more
Scorpio.
Yeah.
But like, there's definitely some sort like revolutionary.
As long as like interdimensional or something, you know?
Yeah.
You know, kind of allowing yourself to get abstract when you go a little deep there.
Yeah. And then the very last aspect of this day is 11:53 p.m. We get the moon quincunx Jupiter. There's just, I think that there's like an adjustment that we have to do around our goal.
Yeah.
Our, our hopes, right? Maybe it's because with the moon Pluto, something came to light. Like some sort of secret or piece of information came to light, and it has to be reckoned with, and we have to make some sort of adjustment.
I think that during that moon quincunx Jupiter, there can be a little bit of like questioning of faith, a little bit, kind of like your confidence is shaken a little bit. You know?
I mean, the quincunx is Virgo shaped. It's anxiety shaped.
Virgo shaped.
It is.
I know.
The 6th house.
Yep.
It's Virgo shaped. That's how I think about the quincunxes. They're either Virgo shaped or they're Scorpio shaped.
Yeah.
So, those don't feel good.
Anxiety.
One is more like, they're both internal churning kind of gross feeling, but one's more anxiety and one's more like your gut feels sick. Yeah. Almost in a way. But yeah. God, this week's gonna stop. This week's gonna stop. Yeah, I just don't think that this week is for us. No. Okay, but let's move forward.
Saturday, July 12th, Venus and Sun are in Antisha.
Yeah.
We have 2:07 a.m. Moon trine Venus, which is cute. So it's going to be Moon in Aquarius trine Venus in Gemini.
Social.
And like so Venus and Sun are in Tisha. So we've got Venus in Gemini and Sun in Cancer, right? So there's an underlying conversation happening between Venus and the Sun right now.
Yeah, I think there could be like new ideas around how to establish one sense of comfort and security. There could be like conversations around that. Yeah. Like, where do we go from here? How do we get this done?
And Cancer is not necessarily comfortable with that change, but I do think that Gemini brings the kind of levity where it can be like, okay, like you don't have to move your house yet, but what if we just talk about it? And Cancer's like, okay, I guess I could just talk about it. Yeah. So that's where Venus and Sun are in Tisha. Starts with the moon trine Venus, which is a nice salve after things not necessarily feeling great.
Pleasant.
And that's like the morning is going to be pretty quiet. You're pretty much going to wake up with that energy. You might feel a little bit more refreshed on this morning, but then at 12:45 p.m., unfortunately, we have Moon in Aquarius opposing Mercury in Leo at 14 degrees, and the void, of course, begins.
It's like an argument that has to do with your ego.
Yeah, I was going to say just like ego, just
egoic,
sensitive about your ego.
Yeah.
You're going to have arguments that are coming from a place of ego.
Yeah. This can also be like in friend groups too. I think about like that Leo Aquarius axis of like creativity and like groups and hopes. There could be, stuff around. I mean, I just think about egos, relationship to another person. Maybe they have an outburst and you're like, absolutely the fuck not. This could also be maybe, I don't know, like an over communicating of something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just like, what is it? Like just overthinking.
Yeah.
In general. Void, of course, is going to begin, and then we get the quincunx to Mars in Virgo from the moon. So we're having to like adjust how we go about doing things, which is the Mars in Virgo, right? Mars in Virgo wants to do things very detail oriented, and moon in Aquarius is like, yeah, I get that, but like
Mhm.
maybe we need to broaden the scope.
Yeah.
We need to
I think that's the big difference between Aquarius and Virgo. Virgo is very much like looking through a pinhole, and Aquarius is like, dude, take the pinhole off your face and look at all that's going on. Right.
But it, for both of these signs do have to do with communication. So I think there's also an adjustment around how we are communicating. So there could have been something with that opposition, and now we are able to make whatever.
I've always found the similarities between Aquarius and Virgo to be notable, right? There's a lot of energy toward service to others, or kind of like our place in community with others, between the two of them. And obviously they go about it in very different ways. But yeah, anytime I see like an Aquarius Virgo quincunx happening, I think there is that bigger question of kind of like our place in society and what we are doing to serve in our communities. So
yeah, I mean, I dig it. Yeah, one is about community and the other one's about service. Right, and they can work together.
I know that they work together because I've been working in nonprofit for 10 years, and it's always Virgo, Pisces, Aquarius, and Taurus. Those are the 4 of us that are in there doing that shit. So
I love it. And then 516 and 540, we get the moon semi-square Saturn and then Neptune. So this is like wah wah. We get like the blues. We get sad, and like try not to dwell. The big player of this entire day is Saturn is stationed, turning retrograde, will be officially retrograde at 9:07 p.m. So, everything having to do with like foundation structure, even stuff around government. Because of that retrogradation and that stationing, like prominent, poignant things can happen during that time.
I think that like because
just strong.
And just before this, 2 days prior, we had a Saturn ruled full moon. I do think it's going to be like something's going to happen with that full moon, and then as Saturn goes retrograde, it's going to be your journey of making sense of what your life looks like after whatever's been released by that full moon.
I think with all of now will be what Neptune, Saturn, and Pluto all retrograde. There's a having to go over again this new territory to be like, did we start this a little hinky? And they're like, we started this a little hinky. We gotta go back.
And if you look at the episodes we've been doing since the beginning of this year, things have been hinky.
So I think that, socially, like we've gone too far in ways that I don't think anyone has anticipated. I mean, I could say so much about that. And now we have to go back and kind of reestablish these things, or to take away the things that don't work or absolutely can't work in order for us to go forward. So, and then very soon, in a few weeks time, Uranus, or in a couple months time, Uranus will also be a retrograde. Mercury will be retrograde. We have some internalization, some figuring out on the inside that we need to do in order for us to go. So if things feel like they've slowed down, things feel like they've stopped, they've just, whatever plans you've made have halted. This is very much a part of the station, especially.
So that's kind of Saturday. The biggest thing is Saturn turning retrograde.
Do you remember when Saturn in Pisces has been all of the incidences around water, right? We had all this stuff with like the whales attacking boats, and
that was funny.
And flooding, and boats hitting bridges, and all sorts of stuff around that. And I keep thinking about how now there's been a lot of news about fire.
There has been a lot of news about fire.
Explosions, firework explosion, fires in other places. With Neptune station in Aries, we had that flood in Texas. So I'm wondering there could be some sort of incurrence or occurrence around something about fire
Mm-hmm.
as the station is happening.
Yeah.
So I will be, or turning retrograde. I'll be very interested to see what happens. Okay.
Well, and we are in wildfire season now, right?
We sure are.
It's my first wildfire season.
Yeah, it's not great.
Love it. So let's move on to Sunday, July 13th.
That is the Sun's day. Sun is in Cancer.
Sun's day. Saturn's officially retrograde. And at 12:57 a.m., we're starting with a Aquarius moon in a quincunx with the sun in Cancer.
You just feel gross.
You just feel bad.
You just feel anxious. You just feel out of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't really quite make sense of it. And you're trying to make sense of it because that's what a moon in Aquarius is going to try to do.
Is going to try to make sense of it.
But like the sun in Cancer is like, but like I need you to feel into it, and the moon is like,
no, what?
No. Like I know I'm the moon and I'm about feelings, but we're not doing that.
We're not doing that today. Yeah.
3:33 a.m. we get the moon sesame square Jupiter. This can cause excesses in behavior, so you need to watch out around going overboard, doing too much, trying to find some sort of like comfort that does not actually suit you.
And then we'll have a moon sextile to Chiron, which will invite some opportunity to heal emotionally.
I like it because the moon is in detached Aquarius. So it's like, yeah, I'm able to put that down. I'm able to let that go. I'm able to do that thing.
Yeah. It could be even just like that, like, can feel very Uranian, where like you think of something that used to bother you so much and you're like, oh man, that just doesn't bother me anymore. And I just realized, you know. You can have like a little moment like that. It's a sextile. It's gentle.
And it's closing. It's the last sextile. So it's like finishing up something around the wound, the ego wound.
Yeah.
Don't hate it. I don't hate that aspect.
No.
For the day.
I don't. It's just unfortunate that it's just like light, and with everything else that's going on, it doesn't feel like it's gonna like pack a huge punch. But just grab onto it if you can. Just be aware of it.
Hold it by the pigtails.
Hold it by the pigtails. And then at 4:44 p.m., Moon is going to enter into gushy, mushy, emotional, deep Pisces. And the void, of course, ends. So whatever detachment you've been able to enjoy in Moon in Aquarius the couple days prior, that's over. We're now with Moon in Pisces. Moon loves being in Pisces. It's time to feel our way through everything.
Yeah. But also like Moon in Pisces as creative and like kind of romantic, and they're like emotions like, oh, I'm just going to romanticize my sadness. I'm going to be in a bathtub and, you know, listen to Lana Del Rey.
Yeah.
Like there's also, I mean, Delulu comes a part of this, but also just like literally being able to sink into feeling sorry for itself.
Yeah. Well, and I was also going to say, like, it can also be so repressed. Moon in Pisces can be so deeply
It's
repressed.
a mute sign, right?
Yeah.
So, like, it can just literally bottle up the ocean.
Yeah.
And just kind of check out.
Yeah.
The escapism is a big thing.
Like, it is going to be in the bathtub feeling its feelings, but the door is going to be locked and you will not see it happen.
And you'll never know that it happened.
You'll never know that it happened.
Yeah.
Hell, the native might not even know it happened. They're just going to, like, wake up in the bathtub and be like, how did I end up in the bathtub?
Oh, man.
Just making fun of all the Moon in Pisces.
Yeah.
And I love Moon in Pisces. As a placement, I actually love it. I get along really well with Moon in Pisces. Like, I like that opposition to my sun.
I mean, Pisces placements they all hit my 7th house, and so they find me.
Oh, yeah. They find me.
They find me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you like it when they find you?
Some of them, like
sometimes
like evolved because it, you know, it sextiles my Taurus trine, but it does square my moon, and so especially when they get into delusional spaces, it's not where I want to be.
Yeah.
And then I get real like, we're just going to cut that off.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You know, like we're not that. Yeah. Anyways.
My biggest problem with Pisces placements is making plans with you guys.
It's real.
The number of times.
Just tell them.
The number of times I've had Pisces sleep through our plans. because like I love Pisces. I actually like love Pisces. I'm friends with so many Pisces. It's like my favorite platonic sign. But yeah, y'all cancel plans on me too much.
Just tell them to meet you by the ocean.
Let's meet in our dreams.
Yeah. And they'll be like, okay.
They'll be like, okay.
And we'll go see them there.
So yeah, Moon's gonna go into Pisces. Get ready to have the feelings, or to have feelings and then repress them, whatever. And you're probably gonna want to repress them because the very next thing is gonna be Moon squaring off with Uranus and Gemini.
Yeah.
It's a mutable square.
Emotional.
It's just emotional
upset of some sort of, like, it could be some sort of destabilizing shock where you have to kind of change, like, it's like a rope-a-dope. That's whatever I think about the moon square Uranus in a mutable sign. It's like, and now we change. Like, I hated that, but now we gotta change. We have to shift. We have to take on something new here. Okay, this like fresh perspectives that I didn't ask for.
Yeah, it's like, because Moon is like our habits and just like our day-to-day
and our needs,
tempos, and our needs. So I think that with Uranus and Gemini, it's like all of a sudden my pattern has to change, or my routine's getting thrown off, right?
Or the goal, like literally just the goalpost shift.
Yeah,
for
sure. And with Moon in Pisces, there's gonna be a lot of feelings around it. So,
but make the shift, make the change.
Yeah.
Right after that, for the rest of the day, it's just extremely minor aspects. There's a semi-square from the Moon, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto. So there could just be feeling, I think, just kind of that like floaty, like, no, maybe. What is that? Kind of questioning.
They're like Seven of Cups vibes. Yeah. Right?
Like,
it's
real...
like too many options, but maybe none of them are very viable.
Yeah. So I think that this day feels very unfinished in terms of like getting things done. We have to remember that like this whole week, we don't have a heavy amount of aspects because we have so many voids also, right? Because the void of course Moon, because we have planets at the beginning of signs. So that just makes for more voids. But I think that, again, this whole week is about Uranus. In Gemini. He is, having all of these various aspects from the smaller, from the Moon mostly, that is going to kind of bring up what this has to do with for all of us. And I just don't think we're going to be feeling very comfortable. I think also because we go from Uranus in Taurus, slow, very stable, very consistent sign, to a very frenetic, action-oriented, moving, quick sign, that like there's going to be a lot of stuff kind of like flying around our head, and we're like,
well, and that's like, it's a more comfortable energy for Uranus, but keep in mind that just means that Uranus is going to really Uranus for a while. So depending on how you feel, how Uranus makes your chart feel, that could be good, or that could be really, really challenging, because Uranus is going to be amped.
And it extra amped too, because it's within a trine to Pluto, which just intensifies everything and makes things a little bit more critical, crucial, just literally intense. And the kind of ramifications of whatever's going on with Uranus as it's in its trine to Pluto kind of like restructures literally society at its like root level. So it's not just like, oh, there's like a new social media platform. It's like, oh no, there's this new program that the government is enacting that is going to change how all of our information is stored. Forever. Or for the rest of our living timeline, unless something very significant changes. I mean, these are like deep structural governmental changes that have to do with
societal changes,
that has to do with how information operates at like the basis,
and that just like fundamentally affects the interconnectedness of the human species. I think just like how we are all connected to each other. And I think that goes back to what we talked about last week with Uranus and Gemini having to do with like AI and the rise of AI, like we can't even begin to fathom how that's going to change the way we interact with each other, how we take in information. It's becoming increasingly closer to impossible to know what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
When we're talking about digital spaces. So, yeah, spooky. And we're going to finish off with Monday, July 14th. Yep. Moon in Pisces is it's Moon's Day. And 5:47 a.m. So energy. So 5:47 a.m. Moon in Pisces, sesqui square to Sun in Cancer. And then 6:46 a.m. Moon trine Jupiter in Cancer. So these two energies are going to be kind of what we're waking up with. There's a little bit of discomfort in that Moon to Sun in Cancer. That's sesqui square.
I mean, it's like two water signs, right? Yeah. But it's like two water signs that literally cannot cooperate at this time.
Right. Yeah. And like that's the thing with the sesqui square, right? It's like two energies that usually get along really well. Like Pisces and Cancer, dream team. And for some reason, they are not seeing eye to eye right now.
But they will work it out. They do have a
trine. Of course they do. It's Pisces and Cancer. They're obsessed with each other.
But it's just, for now, it's like emotionally cranky. I feel
it's like a lover's quarrel.
It just feels like crying.
Yeah.
Crying in the club, crying everywhere.
Crying in the club. And honestly, that's reinforced by that Moon trine Jupiter in Cancer. Just like two water signs just absolutely
now there's just
enabling each other.
Yeah, it's like even though the Moon is back in bounds at this point, it's still now amplified by Jupiter in Cancer. And so like that need to feel very secure, like inside of one's like emotional space, is I think amplified in such a way that it's just not quite great. And then we kind of overreach, or we are reaching for ways for us to feel safe and secure. We get the Moon square Venus and Gemini. We like want to like engage in all sorts of like pleasurable things. And the square means we're taking some sort of action, but like maybe we can't really put our finger on what exactly we need to do, especially with the mutability of that square.
This will be fun because this will be around the time we're filming next week's episode.
We'll be just silly, sad little
Venus
clowns.
And Gemini, but we'll be chatting about it, right? Yeah. chatty.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then 7:39. We've got Moon, quincunx, Mercury, and Leo.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's not great.
I think it feels like a lie.
Ooh, that's good.
You know, like you tell, like you
could even be a lie, like you think you're protecting somebody, or something.
Like like Moon. Pisces, I'm not saying that Pisces is an untruthful sign, but they do deal in illusion.
Yeah, and that's what I mean when I say it's like well-intentioned.
Yeah.
But it's a lie.
And Mercury in Leo is like a person that tells stories for the plot, like because it's fun, because it's creative, you know, and so there's, you know, these two signs can get along, but they're, if they're telling the story.
It can it very much feels like that energy of someone being like, how do I look tonight? And they're like, you look great, when like they look like
like their panties are hanging out of their skirt.
Yeah, like something really bad that like you probably should have said something to them. But instead, Moon in Pisces was like, oh, and Mercury in Leo was like, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings. You know, like I don't want to be the Mercury in Leo is very much like, I don't want to be the one who hurts their feelings.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, the quincunx again, anxious energy, and so this can be like just feeling emotionally anxious due to some words that were told to you. Yeah, telling people what they want to hear, feeling anxious about what was told to you, feeling like your ego was maybe a little slighted by what something was. This feels like a little bit of an ego oops. Yeah. One way or the other, it's either you receive something that feels like an ego oops, or you're going to do something that just to protect yourself in the name of protecting the other person. Yeah, kind of energy. And then at 9:15, we're ending this week with a Moon opposition to Mars in Virgo, which can feel a little halting. It can feel a little cutting. Yep. Like especially ending. Between like Pisces and Virgo, there's like a need to heal. And I mean,
I think it can feel like a
this can
halting
also
or
just be
cutting.
like emotional conflict.
Yeah.
Right? Between in a relationship that has to do with service and sacrifice, that you have to do with work, the work you do, wherever you work. This is certainly something about how we process information, whether it's through feeling or speaking. This can have to do with like perfectionism.
Yep.
It's not
it's not ideal.
I just don't think that this week is great, Bender.
No, I don't think it's gonna be great either.
But
my big it's not going to be great. My biggest concern is that it could go beyond not great, depending on what that full moon has for us, and depending on where it hits in your chart. It could be like an awful week, you know, depending on what that full moon does in your chart. It could be a really challenging week.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I want to make sure that our 25 listeners know.
Oh, we're up to 25.
Maybe. I don't know. Is if you have a lot of squares and oppositions in your chart, then when planets square or have oppositions, you're able to more to better work with that energy than folks that don't have those things in their chart, right? Yeah. So like
if you have like a moon in Capricorn natally that is just like super challenged, or has like no dignity, this might actually not feel as bad, or it might just not feel as unfamiliar.
Yeah, which is why humanity is such a cornucopia of experiences. Right. Collectively, the energy is sus. Yeah. However, some people will be able to still get their work done, still operate in ways where you're like, I don't even know how you're getting through the day, right? Yeah. Like there are people that have really powerful T-squares that are able to work through like intense times of trauma. Yeah.
And like that's like the flip side of that is, even if we weren't using astrological language, it's like traumatized people handle trauma better, right? Because they're more familiar with it. Yeah.
So depending, you know, it's like all of the folks that, you know, have these crazy flowing trines, you know, from their personal planets will probably be like, why is everything falling apart? Yeah. Whereas those who have, you know, major oppositions or very angular planets, like are able to go, okay, like I'm taking action here and I'm just going to work through it. Yeah. But I think that
then you just come and get together with your bud on a podcast and you're like, that sucked.
Yeah, that sucked.
Well, that sucked.
Yeah.
So anyway, next week. Yeah. But yeah, I do think that's an important point to make, is like when we're talking about things being bad, like we definitely tend to come from the place of like what's collectively happening to us, and like no matter how good you are at handling squares and oppositions, no one can deny that collectively we're all going through a little bit of a shit show right now.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, you don't even have to look at the astrology. You can literally just open Twitter. Yeah. You can just open anything and know that like things aren't working out the way that we would all hopefully have them work out.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, look at your chart, look at where that full moon's going to hit. Look at, again, I think we mentioned it last week, but like where's Uranus starting its journey right now, because it's still at those very early degrees.
Yep, that's a 7-year journey for you.
Yep. And so wherever Gemini rules over your chart, that's where Uranus will be.
Yep, and then also where Uranus is in your chart,
yes,
is also going to be impacted. And then if you want to think from a modern lens, wherever Aquarius is in your chart is also going to be impacted.
Yep.
So for instance, Uranus, using whole sign houses, is entering my 10th. My Uranus is in my 3rd of communication, and Aquarius rules over my 6th house of service and work.
So 6th, 3rd, and 10th.
Yeah. So I know that this has to do with like how I communicate doing the work I do out in public.
It's also like very grounding. It's very like grounding Uranus energy between like the 6th and the 10th house.
Yeah.
Right? It's very like work and legacy, and you know.
Yeah.
So that's cool for you.
Yeah. I mean, I also am not afraid of Uranus, like some people are.
God, you have like Get off on
Uranus. I love Uranus.
Love Uranus.
I was watching a TikTok astrologer that was like, I do not like this planet. And I was like, well, if you don't make friends with the eccentric is going to come and fuck up your life.
Yeah, I think I like Uranus.
Yeah.
I think I've had my Uranus moments where I'm like, why? But yeah. I like Uranus.
I think it's also just important to remember too, if you're like a spiritual person, that there is remediation of planets that you can do, whether that is from literally trying to sit with the energy of that planet and talking to it, meditating with, something that represents that planet and kind of calling that energy in to have a conversation with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's mantras, especially if you are familiar with like any of the like Vedic mantras, you can look those up.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of ways to communicate with these various energies in hopes that they will hopefully behave a little bit better in your chart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was a great way to sum it up. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be back next week to talk about the 15th to the 21st.
Yeah.
You can book readings with us.
Always.
I
mean, I have limited hours, but yeah, always.
Anytime, day or night.
Limited hours.
Limited hours.
But we want to see you.
We both work. We both have jobs.
We do. All right, take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.